What's up guys, this is Matt, and today I've got a pretty interesting video for you guys. So I usually show off used parts builds with a whole bunch of deals I found, but never really dive too far into detail about each deal, and that's where this video comes in. Today I'm going to be talking about a very important component in the $20 gaming PC I did this past summer, and that's the GPU. This guy, the GT430. I found this card on Craigslist for $10 and was able to talk the guy down to $5, which admittedly was a very good deal and a fair bit cheaper than market value. The GT430, which came out in 2010, boasts 96 CUDA cores at 700 MHz and 1GB of DDR3 video memory on a 128-bit bus. In the $20 PC, this graphics card was paired with a Core 2 Duo, which is a dual-core Intel CPU even older than the GPU. So I thought something interesting to do would be to pair the GT430 with a much more modern and powerful CPU, and that's exactly what I did. I threw it into my personal rig, which has a 12-core Haswell Xeon at 2.5 GHz and 16 GB of DDR4 memory. I loaded up a few different titles to test this card's performance, which include Overwatch, Csgo, Rocket League, and GTA 5. And the results were actually pretty surprising. So starting off with Rocket League, the least intensive game tested, this like everything else was tested at 720p. I began at 720p low settings, and this card produced a locked 60 FPS. Turning the settings up to medium, I got an average of 47 and a low of 39. And turning the settings up to max at 720p, this card pumped out an average of 32 FPS with a low of 28. So overall, Rocket League ran beautifully at 720p and various levels of detail. Moving on to CSGO, this seemed to surprisingly run better than Rocket League. At 720p medium settings, this card gave an average of 80 FPS with a low of 69. Cranking the settings up to very high, I saw an average of 51 FPS with a low of 44. Overall, again, CSGO was perfectly playable on this card, which keep in mind I only paid $5 for. The next game I tested was Overwatch, which I was kind of worried about how it was going to perform, but to my surprise, Overwatch at 720p lowest settings was actually playable with an average of 40 FPS and a low of 33. Now, this wasn't really what I would call enjoyable, but it actually was playable. Moving the settings up any further rendered unplayable frame rates, but the fact this ran Overwatch at any settings was cool to me. Finally, for laughs, I decided to test out GTA 5, a notoriously system-intensive game which scales fairly well with various levels of hardware. The biggest problem I saw going into it wasn't the measly 96 CUDA cores or the slow clock speed of 700 MHz, it was the 1GB of VRAM, which I thought was going to be a big problem, but to my surprise it wasn't. GTA 5 at 720p lowest settings was playable. Very playable actually. Keeping the settings on low, the game didn't even max out the 1GB of video memory the GT430 had to offer. This card was able to produce an average in the upper 40s with a low of 38 when driving fast. This was very surprising to me as I was sure GTA 5 with this card was going to be like a slideshow. Getting this card at $5 was a steal and a no-brainer, but what do these cards run for on the general market and are they worth it? Well, on eBay they seem to go for around $15 on auction and $20 buy it now. If you can get it for under $15, then I say it's a decent deal. So who should buy this? Well, anyone wanting to do anything more than light gaming at 720p should look elsewhere. Who this really would be good for is someone with an older system running integrated graphics wanting to use this card in a home theater setting for general computing needs or even some very light gaming. This card actually isn't much better than the modern Intel integrated graphics, so if you have a system that's a few years old or newer, then this card really isn't going to do you much good. If you are looking for a good gaming card on a budget, I would recommend searching YouTube for best budget used graphics cards, as sites like eBay and Craigslist can be gold mines for used parts deals, especially if you're willing to do your research and be persistent. Just make sure the system meets the power and size requirements before hitting the purchase button. If you guys want me to make specific videos diving deeper into one of these subjects, like how to find good deals on eBay or my top picks for used budget GPUs, then make sure to tell me in the comments down below. So yeah guys, I think this wraps this video up. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.